Yeah, so we decided to have this weekly session from February to the end of April, right? 3 months. So we are now nearly finishing March. And April also, you are already informed we don't have class on 6th April because I'm out of station. And otherwise for the rest of the weeks in April, and then we stop in April. And then later on, we'll see, depending upon what time we have. So we were discussing the 4th chapter, which is the chapter on lineage. In Tibetan, we call it Rik, and in Sanskrit, it's called Gotra. In English, it has been translated as family or genes or lineage and so forth. So normally, we have this category of, the lineage of the kings, lineage of the Brahmins. So there are different kind of familial lineages. So it is something like that, okay? So we discussed a little bit about the special features of the Mahayana lineage and the two types of lineage, that is the inborn lineage and the developed lineage. So today we start from verse 5, which is actually talking about certain signs and symbols to show that you have that lineage. So this is something that you can test yourself, whether you have that Mahayana lineage or not. So in this verse number 5, it says, having compassion before engaging. For example, if having compassion before practice or engaging means that when you want to do something, it's not just doing something, but the reason behind such action, such engagement is because you have this natural quality of having concern and sense of responsibility and compassion for others. So that's the meaning, having compassion before practice. So the motivating force is the presence of compassion. So you should see whether you have that or not, or whether you are just doing things because it is the societal call of the society, or you are doing this because of compassion for others. If you're doing this, this is very important. If you're doing this motivated by compassion, the difference is, when you do something without compassion, then you may be doing it for money, or you may be doing it because somebody asked you to do that. But if you have compassion, then you will naturally, without the need to be told by others, you will engage it, in that practice, just like you're taking daily meal, daily food. Nobody has to tell you that you should have your breakfast or lunch, things like that. You will automatically take it. So that is one sign. And then the second sign is that you should have belief or interest in the Mahayana teaching. That's the second feature. And the third feature is that having belief and forbearance. Forbearance means when you actually work for others, it's not easy to work for others, because when you do something for others, you might get immediately fed up, you might get immediately tired, and you might give up, you see. Again, the interesting observation is when it comes to doing something for oneself, it's difficult for us to get tired, right? So you will, if there is a need to wake up early in the morning, you will wake up early in the morning. If there's a need to walk late night, you will work until late night. But when it is something for others, you might just keep on watching your clock, And normally we do our work from 9 to 5 office work. And then after that, the office work we normally don't do, right? So something like that. So forbearance means you should have this patience, capacity to undergo hardship when you actually work for others. That is another feature. And the next feature is when you engage in virtuous practices like giving, observance of morality and so forth, you would engage in it properly, correctly or properly, not in a half-hearted way, right? So if you have this now qualities, these features, then this is explained as the definite marks of having the lineage, okay? So there's the meaning of this verse. Now, the 6th verse is saying definite and indefinite lineage. The sixth verse is talking about the faults, some shortcomings of the lineage. Shortcomings of the lineage means that not shortcomings. Sorry, the different categories of the lineages. In terms of different types of lineages, then there are like those who have the definite lineage, and those whose lineage is indefinite, those that cannot be attracted by conditions, and those that can be attracted. So definite lineage means those that cannot be attracted by conditions. So definite lineage means even if the situation is not very favorable, you will not be distracted by those unfavorable situations. You will remain steadfast to your commitment and work and things like that. So that is indication that you have that definite lineage. Now, indefinite lineage means you may have some kind of lineage, but when you're in a situation where there's a lot of distraction or attraction, then you might, falter. Okay, so there's the meaning. So whether it's a definite lineage or indefinite lineage is determined by whether it is attracted by other conditions or not attracted or not distracted by other conditions. In short, the lineage is of 4 types. Okay. Then the 7th verse is habituation with afflictive emotions, bad friends, deprivation, and control by others. In short, the faults of lineage should be understood as of 4 types. Now, this verse number 7 is talking about the faults of the lineage. The faults of lineage means if you are somebody who is very strongly habituated with negative emotions, and not only you are habituated in negative emotions, but you don't see these negative emotions as negative, as bad, as shortcomings, then this is really like one fault, which means strong habituation with negative emotions. Now, in our case, if we see carefully, we'll find that we are very strongly habituated with negative emotions. We get angry very easily. We develop attachment very easily. We hardly have to make special meditation or undergo special preparation. It comes automatically. So that means we are very, very strongly habituated with negative emotions. So that is one fault. If you are somebody who has strong habituation with negative emotions, then you need to recognize it and weaken that habit and strengthen the habit of positive emotions. So that is the purpose of meditation. Meditation means getting habituated with positive virtuous qualities, which will naturally help reduce the negative habituations. Okay, so habituation with negative emotions. And then association with bad friends. Association with bad friends. This is very important because we are ordinary people and we can be pulled into any direction depending upon with what kind of friend you are associating. If you recline against a gold mountain, gold dust will stick on you. If you recline against a mountain of dust, dust will stick to your body. So similarly, as I said in this Bodhisattva Thongme Sangpo's 37 practices, that when you associate with somebody, then if your faults increase, or if your 3 poisons increase, and your practice of listening, contemplation, and meditation decline, and then gradually you become a person without love, without compassion, and so forth, you're transformed into such a person. This clearly is an indication that you are in association with bad friends. Contrarily, when you associate with some other people, then your false shortcomings decline and your positive qualities increase like waxing moon. Then these are not only your ordinary friends, but see them as your spiritual friends and regard them as more important than your body. So this is what is said in 37 Bodhisattva practices. So bad friend not necessarily mean that they have ugly faces and frightening, looks, but because of their negative emotion, negative habit, if you go with them, mix with them, you can also be tainted with such negative ways of life, negative ways of thinking. So therefore, it is very, very important for us to associate with good friends, especially your spiritual teacher. It's very important, especially until we reach certain state of stability of mind. We can be very easily. So therefore, the societal influence is very, very crucial. In the thickness of the societal influence, we will be easily drawn into that almost like ocean of influence from the surroundings, right? And if that happens, we may not be able to swim against that tide of societal influence. So therefore, it is really important for us to remain alert, mindful, and so forth. Okay. And then the next fault is that you are unable to do practice because of shortage of material facilities. This is also an obstruction and hindrance. There may be, I have seen myself, some people who are really very interested to study, but they have no means. They can't travel to other places for receiving teachings, things like that. They don't have access to teachers, and they don't have that means to attend different meditation or study sessions and things like that. So deprivation of material needs. There's also another shortcoming, fault. Then the next is being controlled by others. Being controlled by others, meaning that if you have no freedom, if you're controlled by others, then you may be dying to do some dharma practice, but you will have no freedom to practice that. You may be controlled by your husband, you may be controlled by your friends, you may be controlled by your king, your minister. Because of that situation, you may not be able to, enjoy your freedom to do whatever you want, including dharma practice. So there is another fault. So in short, the faults of lineage should be understood as of 4 types, as we already discussed. So understand this and try your best to get rid of these 4 faults. Okay. Then the next is the benefit of having those proper lineages. The benefit is, if you are somebody who possesses the Mahayana lineage, then in that case, even if you end up doing certain negative deeds, but will go to bed migration after a long time, that means you may be somebody who had committed some negative deeds and you might fall into bed migration, but you will not go to bed migration quickly. You'll go after a long, long time because you will be protected by that Mahayana lineage. Okay, so that is one benefit. And then also, even if you fall into that negative state of existence, you will be able to liberate it from that state very quickly. For example, in the case of the birth story of one of the past lives, birth stories of the Buddha also, it is said that he was once born in that hell realm. And then there were a number of other sentient beings who were also born there. And then there was one, in the hell realm, then you get all this kind of punishments. So there was another one whose physical body was also small and weak, and he had to pull this heavy kind of cart, which he was unable to do. And then this past lives, the rebirth of the Buddha, he said, oh, this is very sad thing. So I must volunteer to help him pull that cart out. So with this big motivation, bodhisattva kind of motivation, he went to help his friend. And because of this, bodhicitta, it is said that the caretaker of that, those beings in the hell realm, he came and hit on the head of the past lives bodhisattva of the Buddha. And with that, he died, and he was born into higher rebirth. Thus, he got liberated from that negative state of existence. But if you think this is difficult to digest, but in our ordinary life also, the moment you generate some really, really pure positive emotions like compassion, loving kindness, altruism, so forth, immediately many of your stresses, tensions, enmity, feeling of tiredness gets reduced. That's 100% sure. So we don't have to go after some mythological stories. You should test it with yourself. Try to associate with people and try to do something with negative emotion, with reluctance, with anger, with jealousy. And then on other occasions, try to do something with a mind which is delightful, which is benevolent, which is open-minded, which is willing to help others. Immediately, it will be easier for you to do that work, and you will not get that tension and tiredness and so forth. So these are something that we should test. Okay, this is important, because otherwise our talk about loving kindness, compassion will not get that needed understanding unless we implement it. Okay, so if you implement it, you'll really be able to see that. Okay. So you will quickly be liberated. And also, while in that negative state of existence, the suffering that you will encounter will also be much less. And even there will experience little suffering, small suffering, not big suffering. Okay. And not only that, you will also be able to develop that sense of discouragement and sadness of engaging in non-virtuous deeds. You will be kind of discouraged or saddened by negative deeds, meaning that you will be reluctant to commit any negative deeds. And because of this, even though now you're in the negative state of existence, you will be able to measure your mind. You will be saddened and ripen other sentient beings. Okay, so through this kind of attitude, not only you will be liberated, but you can also help others sentient beings ripen their mind towards positive emotions. The next point, verse number 9, talks about cultivation of certain common qualities with certain examples. The first example is the example of gold. It should be known similar to the class of gold. That means in the case of this ordinary example, whatever comes from gold mine will be treated as something good. Okay, because if you go to the source of that gold mine, you will get many different types of gold. Okay, similar to class of gold, source of immeasurable virtue. So in the case of this gold mine, you will get a lot of gold, and you will also see that radiating light, and you will find this gold also without any temporary defilements, shortcomings, and you can also fashion those gold and make earrings or any other kind of ornaments. So similarly, this Mahayana lineage also should be seen as source of many common qualities, right? Meaning that that's why bodhicitta is said to be the highest quality that anybody can develop in ordinary level. If you read this text composed by the late Lama Tenzin Gyaltsen, who wrote a text praising the qualities of bodhicitta, And the translation of that is also available in English. So there in that text, he says, if you develop, cultivate bodhicitta, it's good for you, it's good for others, it's good in the day, good in the night, good when you're sleeping, good when you're walking, in all situations. I mean, when you have this wish to help all sentient beings, then you are not so bothered about small problems in your case, right? So that's what he's saying, okay? The reason is, because of this bodhicitta, you are able to develop immeasurable virtues of all types. And then because of this power of bodhicitta, you will also be able to develop this primordial wisdom, realizing selflessness. And you will then be free from the defilements of negative emotions. And this will also become the source of development of many powers like clairvoyances and so forth. Right? So this is basically saying, this is important, because when you develop genuine loving kindness, genuine compassion, genuine bodhicitta, then you prepare your mind as a fertile ground to plant anything. If you have a fertile ground, then you can plant anything, right? So similarly, when you have this genuine altruism, bodhicitta, wish to help everybody, then it becomes the source of many, many great qualities. So these points are for me very, very important, because sometimes we struggle. We try to learn a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then talk about 5 paths, 10 spiritual grounds, and then 6 perfections, 10 perfections. I mean, there are countless subjects to study, subjects to know, things like that. But we are unable to develop any one of these qualities, because we are simply talking about it, counting them and things like that. But if you develop one quality properly, loving kindness, compassion, and develop one quality like bodhicitta, which we'll read in the next chapter, then you will see how powerful, why this is a source of many other positive qualities. We'll be able to see that, okay? So there's the meaning. It should be known similar to the class of gold, source of immeasurable virtue, possess primordial wisdom and being free from stain, and also the source of powers like clairvoyance and so forth. Then, so this verse number 9, speaks about the common qualities. Now verse number 10 is talking about the unique, uncommon qualities. And in that, the example given is a precious gem, like a precious gem. In the case of the supreme precious gem, it of course possesses the lineage of precious gem, and it's good in terms of its color, good in terms of its shape, and good in terms of its size. So in every case, it looks really amazing, right? And it's also the uncommon, source of the source of uncommon qualities, which is uncommon to Sarvakas and Patika Buddhas and so forth. So similarly here, it should be understood as the class of supreme gem, because it is the basis of great enlightenment. So here in this case, this is like a supreme precious gem, because it is the basis and foundation of the primordial wisdom of the great enlightenment, okay? And it's also the source of all the wisdoms, the mirror-like wisdom and so forth. And it's also source of all kinds of meditative stabilizations, like the Vajra or diamond-like meditative stabilizations and so forth. It's a great primordial wisdom, special meditative stabilization, and act as the abidance or purpose of many sentient beings. And it is basically the source and foundation of liberation of many sentient beings, freedom of many sentient beings, right? Many sentient beings suffer because of having nobody looking after them, right? So when you develop such a great quality like bodhicitta, then on the one hand, it helps other sentient beings mature their mind, helps them find their path, then also helps them get liberated from certain bondages, including the bondage of ignorance and many other types of bondages. So the bondages are not necessarily external control, right? Having no freedom is not necessarily just the external control. It is primarily the internal control by negative emotions, by ignorance, and so forth, that we are not able to get the needed freedom. And the Buddhist practice of the path and spiritual ground is for that freedom, for this liberation. If somebody asks you a question, you want freedom, all of us will definitely say, yes, I want freedom. Right? And what controls us is negative emotion, ignorance, and so forth, which doesn't give us freedom. So if you want to get that freedom, it is in your hand. You don't have to seek the support of the government or any other organization. You simply have to make some effort. And through that, you can lessen that control from negative emotions. The more and more you lessen that control from negative emotions, the more and more you feel free. All the modern diseases like tension, depression, stress, worry, fear, all this mind made up. Mind made up. So that's why in the Buddhist teaching of mindfulness practice, we are constantly told not to spend too much time lingering in the past experience, or don't spend too much time, getting lost in the future possibilities. Live in the moment. Live in the moment. But unfortunately, it's very difficult for us to live in the moment, enjoy whatever is there. But we keep on thinking about the past, and thinking about what will happen in the future. So it's the hope and worry that destroys our life. Yes, there are occasions that sometimes you think about the past, and that is simply to learn some lesson. Yes, it is true, you may have to make some plans for the future, but that doesn't mean that you forget your present life and get completely lost in the past or get completely lost in the future. That doesn't make much sense, because past is gone. It's just a memory. Future is yet to come. There's no certainty. Right now, the present time, present moment is really almost like the cache which you can use. Right? So it's really important. And in fact, when we talk about having happiness in the life, love is combination of all these moments, each and every single moment of your life that you're living. And if you're unable to live properly in this very moment, in this very hour, in this very minute, that means you're not able to enjoy part of your life. Okay? Okay. So therefore, bodhicitta should be understood as the hope, the lasting hope of all sentient beings. I mean, this is amazing. Bodhicitta is really the last hope for all of us, which basically means good mind, warm-heartedness is the real hope for all of us. And if you don't have that compassionate mind, that altruistic mind, that loving kindness, then it's not possible to solve any problem. If you look carefully about the multifarious problems that we are facing today in this world, and in fact right now, including conflict and wars, you will be able to see it clearly that much of these problems are rooted in superficial differences and personal egoism. It is not based on the understanding of sameness of all human beings. If you come down from this superficial, religious, philosophical, national boundaries and differences, and start from the basic, that we are all same, that we are all human beings, wanting happiness, not wanting suffering. So based on that, how should we solve all the problems, including religious, national, whatever you can solve? I remember very well, long time back, when I think America and Russia was experiencing Cold War, then His Holiness gave a suggestion saying that I think at that time it was President Clinton, and His Holiness suggested that instead of trying to solve many disputes and problems between big nations, the big leaders like Gorbachev and Clinton should bring their family, especially their kids, children, and go by the sea beach and let them play together as ordinary human beings. And His Holiness said, if you do that, you will be able to solve many bigger problems easily. Then you will be able to see these are our children. And what is our responsibility for this younger future generation? So that is important. Person-to-person contact, heart-to-heart contact. That's important. Okay? Without focusing too much on these superficial differences. Now the next verse number 11 is talking about those sentient beings who let us say have no lineage. Some are definite in solely engaging in misdeeds. So when we say there are people who have no lineage, we are talking about those people who are always engaging in negative deeds. And then there are some others who completely destroy virtuous practices. It's not so difficult to see that there are some people who keep on, working in the negative direction, destructive direction. There are many people whose whole life's job is stealing. It will not be difficult for you to see that if you go to big cities and just observe people how they're living their life. You will see some people who spend their whole life stealing. There are people who spend their whole life joining a gang, a gang of robbers or dacoits who engage in burglary, killing, and so forth. So they have no lineage. Some completely destroys virtuous practice. Some do not have the virtue harmonious to the state of nirvana. There are others who have weak virtue, but without cause. So that means in the case of the first, there are people who engage in heinous crimes. So therefore, some are definite in solely engaging in misdeeds. Solely engaging in misdeed here primarily means who engage in heinous crimes. It is definite that they'll do it, that they'll kill their father, they'll kill their mother, things like that. Then there are others who develop wrong view about virtuous practice, and they'll start defaming the practice, and they develop wrong view. And because of this, the root of virtuous practice is completely destroyed. Some completely destroy virtuous practices. That is the meaning. And then there are others who may have some virtue which is harmonious to collecting merit. Harmonious collecting merit means here it refers to people who start collecting merit. You need to collect merit for countless eons, or at least 3 countless eons. So when does this accumulation of merits for 3 countless eons start? It starts from the first path. Okay, first path. Then there are others who may have not even entered that first path. They're in our ordinary state, but they also engage in certain good deeds, which is similar to the merit accumulated by those on the first path. So that's why it is called path harmonious to the to collecting merit. But they do not have virtue which is harmonious to liberation. Harmonious to liberation means when you achieve the path of seeing, then you achieve that state of collecting virtue that is more or less definite to lead to liberation. So when you are in the first or second path, you may not have developed that virtue, but you have developed virtue which is similar to the one developed by those who are on the path of seeing. So there's the meaning. And then there are others who may have a little bit of virtue, inferior kind of virtue, which is a little bit similar to the white virtue that is harmonious to the virtue of leading to liberation, but they do not have needed accumulation of merit. So this is like people who normally in ordinary conversation also we say that when people have very little wealth, then we say, I have no wealth, I'm very poor, I have nothing, right? So something like that. So if you have this four kind of lineages, and then it will take a long time for you to achieve liberation. So it is in this stance, it is said that you don't have the lineage, these four types. But definitively speaking, this does not mean to say that you don't have the lineage. Definitively speaking, we all have the Buddha lineage, Buddha nature, Tathagata Garbha. Buddha lineage basically means our mind's capacity to change. The mind having no inherent existence itself gives you the possibility to get enlightened. So from that stance, from that point of view, we all have the Buddha nature. We all have the Buddha potential. So here, when we say there's no lineage, it means that it will, for a long time, it will take a long time to achieve liberation and so forth. Okay. Now, what is the greatness if you have that lineage? This is explained in verse 12. The greatness of having lineage is your wisdom will be profound. Your wisdom will be profound, and your method and skillful means will be extensive. And so this profound wisdom and vast skill that's being taught in the Mahayana teaching to benefit others. To this profound, extensive explanation, this great Dharma taught to benefit others will develop very extensive belief even without knowing and passion and practice. So that means the greatness of having lineage is that even if you are somebody who has no idea or not much idea about this profound wisdom and extensive method, but you will still develop some kind of admiration, some kind of faith to the Mahayana teaching, even you don't know the meaning. It's almost like blind faith, right? Just today afternoon, I was discussing with some people that if you have even blind faith to His Holiness Dalai Lama, it's enough. Even if you have blind faith to the Mahayana teaching, it's enough, at least to start with, right? Because the blind faith, the kind of faith that you are developing towards this person, to this teaching, is unmistaken. The teaching is reliable. The teacher is reliable. So in that sense, it is okay. Generally speaking, of course, blind faith is not good, right? Because you might, develop that faith to the wrong person, to the wrong teaching. Then you are in big problem, big trouble, right? Right. So one benefit is that even when you don't know much, you have the lineage or this interest in the Mahayana lineage or the profound and the vast teachings, right? Yesterday also I met a very interesting young Tibetan student, was just graduated, very young. And he came to see me and he was asking a lot of questions about interdependent origination, emptiness, and so forth. Then on further conversation, he was very interested, just this concept of interdependent origination and shunyata. And because of his interest, he even bought a book by Buddha Palita. It's just beginning, but he said somehow I'm very interested in this. I want to know more. Right? So this shows, you have that kind of imprint or potential. And in addition to that, and you will also be a person who will not easily be discouraged when it comes to helping others. Again, whether you know the profound and vast Mahayana teachings or not, but by nature you will be somebody who is very happy in helping others. We do see such people, not necessarily a Buddhist. You see such kind of people everywhere. So you need to tell them that you are lucky you have this lineage. And then there are others who may have studied the Buddhist teaching and maybe a Geshe and very good in talking and speaking, but when it comes to actually helping, they may be reluctant. They may not be forthcoming. So this again shows something else, right? So there's one thing. Even without knowing, and patient in practice. That's the meaning, patient in practice. And these people who possess such Mahayana lineage, they will definitely actualize their perfect great enlightenment, which is of course far superior than the Sarvakas, the worldly beings of Sarvakas and Patika Buddhas. But however, even the first two, that is having interest in the Mahayana teachings, profound and vast Mahayana teachings, even without having the knowledge, and then having this patience to practice. This primarily is because of you have the natural lineage, the quality of the natural lineage. And the third that makes you excel from the Sarvakas and Patika Buddhas is through practice, which is called the developed lineage. In addition to your natural lineage, when you further make effort to practice, then you are able to develop these special qualities. And what is the fruit? In terms of the fruit, also the Mahayana lineage is proved to be great and superior because when you have such a lineage, then you will be able to develop that tree of enlightenment, which possesses these extensive qualities of 10 powers and so forth. And thus you'll be able to develop great bliss, and you'll be able to remove the greatest sufferings. And thereby you'll be able to develop these 10 spiritual grounds. And then because of that, you'll be able to develop sublime activities and fruits, which is beneficial to you and beneficial to others. So therefore, this is really like the foundation or root of a great tree. Okay. Mm-hmm. Then the final verse Verse number 13. No, this I think I've already explained. Because it will develop the Bodhi tree of great and extensive quality, because it enables to achieve the peace from happiness, and great suffering means you will be able to remove great suffering, because of it is having the fruit of bestowing benefit and well-being to oneself and others. This supreme lineage is like the excellent root of a big tree. So this is the 4th chapter on lineage from the Mahayana Sutra Alamkara. So this finishes the 4th chapter. Okay. Then the next chapter is cultivation of bodhicitta. Cultivation of bodhicitta. So that means once you realize that you possess this Mahayana lineage, then this becomes a fertile ground for cultivation of bodhicitta. So therefore, after having explained the Mahayana lineage, then the next topic is the cultivation of bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is cultivated by, depending on 4 factors, 4 causes, 4 powers, and so forth. 4 factors means when you see the amazing, marvelous powers of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, then you develop this aspiration to cultivate bodhicitta. So that becomes 1 factor. Or you may have studied and read the Bodhisattva, sutras, Bodhisattva discourses, and then you develop wish to cultivate that primordial wisdom of the Buddha. That's 1 factor. Or you may be somebody who has seen the disappearance of the Mahayana lineage, and because of having seen this risk of degeneration of Mahayana lineage, you might come forward and make special effort to cultivate bodhicitta. And the 4th factor is you may be able to see the time of degeneration, that there is a great presence of negative emotions in the mind of sentient beings. And it's very difficult to find anybody who genuinely develops cultivation of bodhicitta, and therefore you make a special effort that I will myself cultivate bodhicitta. So these are the 4 factors. And then we have these 4 causes. That means 4 causes are that you are born in a perfect lineage, and that you are influenced by a spiritual teacher, and you have great compassion, and you are somebody who is not easily defeated by hardships and sufferings. So these are the 4 powers that will help you cultivate bodhicitta. So 4 causes. Then you have the 4 powers. 4 powers means your internal power, and power of other people, and the power of your past life's habituation, and the power of your having dependent or relied upon a sublime spiritual being. So these are the 4 powers by which you cultivate bodhicitta. Okay, we'll not go much into detail. Now, when we talk about bodhicitta, this is basically of 2 types: ultimate bodhicitta and conventional bodhicitta. I think I've explained this before earlier. So ultimate bodhicitta is not bodhicitta actually. It is the wisdom realizing emptiness. And conventional bodhicitta is bodhicitta. So we will be primarily talking about conventional bodhicitta, but this conventional bodhicitta is also a very, as we discussed earlier, a great source of all other virtues, including ultimate bodhicitta. So we'll discuss both of them together. Okay. Now, what is bodhicitta? Bodhicitta is wish. Bodhicitta. Bodhi means the mind to enlightenment. So the definition is that it is a mind wishing to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So it's a two-pronged mind. One, wishing to become Buddha. Second, wishing to help sentient beings. So that is the conventional bodhicitta. So this bodhicitta is of two types, aspirational bodhicitta and engaging bodhicitta. This is beautifully explained in Kamal Shila's stages of meditation and also Shantideva's Bodhisattva way of life. In the Shantideva's Bodhisattva way of life, he says it's like the wish to go and actual going. Okay? Just as we know the differences between the wish to go and actual going, similarly should understand the difference between aspirational bodhicitta and engaging bodhicitta. So aspirational bodhicitta means it's a wish, an aspiration that I'll become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. It's just a wish. It's wonderful. It's a great wish. But until you walk, you are simply having a wish to reach a particular destination will not be there. You have to actually walk or fly or whatever. So similarly, the second is engaging, which is really like the actual walking. So for cultivation of this engaging bodhicitta, once you develop this aspirational bodhicitta, and then gradually you are further kind of encouraged to do the practice, and then at that point you take the bodhisattva vow, then engage means engage in the practice of the 6 perfections, 10 perfections, and so forth. Right? So this is, of course, amazing. This is really amazing. Okay? Because the taste of the pudding is not just talking about it, but by eating and tasting it. And then in terms of different levels, we talk about the 22 different types of bodhicittas and so forth, which are like the bodhicitta, which is like the ground and so forth. Okay. And it also speaks about the great merit that you will have just by developing this great mind of bodhicitta. And it said that when you genuinely develop such a bodhicitta, whether you're awake or you're sleeping, you continue to gain mileage. You continue to collect merit. And then the ultimate fruit of such a bodhicitta is that you will achieve enlightenment. You will become Buddha. So this is a general description. And now you need to know how to receive such a bodhisattva vow, or how to cultivate bodhicitta. And it says that you should receive that bodhisattva vow from a qualified master, qualified teacher. Qualified teacher means the person from whom you receive this bodhisattva vow, he should be somebody who has kind of contentment and who is a good practitioner of morality and who possesses compassion and who has eliminated a lot of negative emotions and who possesses wisdom. So try to find such a teacher. Or at least he should be a spiritual teacher who is well versed in the Mahayana teaching and who observes the bodhisattva practices and who never gives up the bodhisattva discipline even at the cost of his life. So from such a teacher, you should receive this bodhisattva vow. And if it is really difficult to find such a qualified teacher, then you can receive this bodhisattva vow in front of a holy image, like the image of a Buddha. Right? So unlike the Pratimoksha vow, you can receive this bodhisattva vow in front of a statue also. This is explained in the Bodhisattva Bhumi. Okay. And when you actually, come there to generate this or receive this bodhisattva vow, then you should first perform certain, practices like pay homage, purify your negative deeds, develop rejoicing, take refuge, and offer yourself, submit yourself 3 times, do those preceding practices, and then request the master or the holy image to give you that bodhisattva vow. And the crux of that cultivation of the bodhicitta is to say that just as the Buddhas of the past developed the bodhicitta and then worked to benefit all sentient beings, so similarly I'll cultivate this bodhicitta and work for the benefit of all sentient beings. And then at the end, you can cultivate this two minds, aspirational mind and engaging bodhicitta. And once that state is firm, then you can receive this bodhisattva vow. And then having cultivated this bodhisattva vow, then you should develop rejoicement, saying that today I made my life meaningful. And so forth, okay? Okay, so we stop here today.
Thank you very much, Geshe La. Now we can just turn to the questions. The first question is from Nika, and she writes, Geshe La, you mentioned the attachment as an example of gotra, or our habit of obscurations. But we live in a family, and we have friends and colleagues, and from one point of view, attachment is something which binds us together and makes us a community. And on the other hand, when we break up with someone, it can be painful and hard to cope with. So how can we just give up attachment without becoming insensitive or indifferent, and how to overcome the trauma of such breakups caused by fear of loss. And actually she adds that I understand in theory how to do it, but on the practice I cannot manage to achieve it.
So that's why we say try your best. You can't achieve perfection in anything right away, right? So use your common sense. And when we say don't develop attachment, we are not saying that you just break from your family, don't stay with your family, don't stay with your friends. We are never saying that. In Buddhism, we always say, have a nice family, have good friends, things like that, right? So what we need to do is make effort to maintain that tie with your friends, with your families, more in the tie relationship should be more based on loving kindness, more based on compassion than on attachment, right? Because as you rightly mentioned, because any connection, any relationship that is based on selfishness, that's based on attachment, that based on ignorance, that brings pain. But if this relationship is based on less, self-grasping, less selfishness, less ignorance, or less of any negative emotion, then that friendship, that relationship will be healthier, and there will be less pain, less harm. So that is the whole, crux of the matter, that change your mental state from negative to the positive. That is the reason. Okay. So lessen your obsessiveness.
Okay, Geshe La, thank you very much. And we move to the next question from Veronica. Yeah. And she says that my activity is relating to cultivation of fruit. And very often I have to use chemicals to fight insects, actually kill them. And on the one hand, if I don't do this, I won't get my crop. But on the other hand, by doing so, I accumulate negative karma. So is there any way to reduce the karmic damage of having to use such harmful chemicals against insects?
So you need to understand this in a larger context. The larger context is we are not living in the Buddha realm. We are living in samsara. So it will not be easy for us to live a life which is completely free from sins or free from negative emotions. We'll be bound to, commit wrong deeds here and there. But the important thing is, don't try to commit such negative deeds intentionally. For example, when you look after your crops, fruits and things like that, you are using those insecticides and things to protect the crop. Your intention was not intentionally to. Your main motivation is not to intentionally kill these insects. So that lessens your negative fruits a little bit. Then, as we always say, prevention is better than cure, right? So as much as possible, see whether there's any prevention than the cure of using insecticides and things like that. So try every means to lessen that killing of insects and things like that. Okay. But as I said, we cannot live in a world which is completely free from any negative emotions. The important thing is your intention should not be primarily for eliminating or killing certain beings.
Geshe, and maybe are there any kind of mantras or something which you could recite when you use these things?
Om Mani Padme Hum, recite Om Mani Padme Hum. Yeah, that's the thing. Because as I said, we may end up doing some negative deeds, but don't take it for granted. You should see, okay, this is not nice, but for the time being, there's no other means that I can do. So therefore, feel sorry for that and recite certain mantras like Om Mani Padme Hum, things like that. Okay.
Thank
So
you
regret is very important. Repentance.
Thank you, Geshe. And the next question is from Dinara. Am I right in my understanding that Gotra is something like karmic imprints of Mahayana practice and habituation to practice from the past lives? The nature of the Buddha is the clear light, etc. And all these qualities are actually the nature of all sentient beings, even the insects.
Yeah, true. So that's why we discuss these two types of lineages: the inborn or natural lineage and the developed lineage. So inborn lineage is there equal with all sentient beings. This is if you read this Uttara Tantra by Maitreya's Uttara Tantra, he clearly says that the Buddha's blessing is radiating to everybody, and there is no differences in terms of the presence of Buddha lineage in the mind of all sentient beings. Therefore, all sentient beings possess Buddha lineage. This is a quotation from the Maitreya's Uttara Tantra. So from that parlance, we are all same. Now the difference is your practice of the developed lineage, right? So now whether you will be able to practice that or not is also, of course, very much dependent on your past life habit and things like that. Yes, to some extent we can say, yes, it is your past life imprint. Yeah.
And actually, Dinara continued that sometimes when you look at certain people, you cannot believe that they also have possessed this nature of Buddha nature. So does it mean that they just don't have this habituation to the practice of compassion and other practices, but have this?
As I said, it's like gold or a gem that is completely, covered by thick dust or thick mud. When it's completely covered by thick dust, thick mud, you will not be able to see that there is a gold inside. So many kind of examples are given in this Uttara Tantra that the lineage is there, the natural lineage is there, but it's covered by defilements. So when we do the Dharma practice, what we need to do is to remove this covering. The more and more you remove this covering, the more and more you will be able to see the light of that lineage.
Thank you, Geshe. Dear friends, do you have any other questions, please? Because you have this precious opportunity to ask them right now. Otherwise, if you don't have any more questions, and we'll ask Geshe La to conclude the teachings with the dedication and prayer.
Thank you, everyone. May the precious bodhicitta, which we have not developed, be developed. May the precious bodhicitta we have developed do not decline and increase further. Thank you.